So welcome back to another podcast, the first podcast of the semester. How have you guys been?
Hey guys. I've been good.
That's good.
Been trying to keep on my time, but other than that, good.
Same. I'm trying to see how this hybrid online thing is going to work out.
Right.
It's not the best, but, I'll make do with it.
I know I ended up having a class that was online and a class in person at the same time, so I'm like, wow. Typical Southern, but let's just get into it. A lot has happened since our last podcast. I think we left off talking about Breonna Taylor and how she was murdered. And I want to just get your opinions on how you feel the movement has evolved in maybe, what has it been, like 2-3 weeks? How we went from media outlets having full coverage on protests to now protests are still happening, but there's no coverage. People are kind of slowing down on their protests, and they're slowing down on getting Breonna Taylor's name out there and George Floyd. How do you guys feel about that?
All right, so I guess I'll start off. I feel like, I wouldn't say protest. Yeah, the protests definitely haven't stopped. Like in DC, they still have been going on like every weekend. Like they're not stopping. Like they're not playing. As far as the media coverage, that's kind of pissed me off in a way because I'm like, it's still happening. It wasn't just like a weekend thing that y'all can just, put on there. Like, oh my gosh, right, it's a protest. Now, back to today's forecast. Like, no, that's not how I feel like this should all work because it's still a big issue. Nobody's been charged yet. Mm-hmm. Y'all haven't made a statement saying anyone's been charged or anybody's been arrested. I've seen it. The cops that did kill her are still just walking out, living life, and just just living. And that pisses me off. But I feel like in terms of like on social media and stuff, it hasn't ended. Like people are still coming, still going hard for Breonna Taylor.
Exactly.
And I did see that the attorney that is handling Breonna Taylor's, trying to bring it to court, he did make a statement saying she will be brought to justice. So I'm not sure if that's just, coming off as a lawyer speaking, like justice will be served, or, but that's how I'm really feeling about everything. It's kind of like, ugh.
All right.
Yeah. My take on it is that I honestly feel like they're not trying to put much media coverage on it to kind of attempt to change the conversation. But like to attempt to quiet us and stop us. But I honestly feel like they don't know that we're not really letting it slide anymore like we have in the past.
Right.
And I really think that they don't understand that we're ready for change. And so it's really kind of ticking me off as well because it's just like this lady was wrongfully murdered and y'all aren't doing anything about it. And it's, time has passed. And I honestly feel like they just need to do something soon or, stuff's just going to have to happen if they don't. And justice needs to be served, like the lawyer said. So I really hope that he wasn't just talking, like Antasia just said. I really hope that he's planning on doing that.
I agree. And it's like when you said they don't understand that we really want change. Because what I find disturbing is that they'll paint Black Lives Matter in the middle of an intersection or on the side of a building. And then when it gets vandalized, they're always like, oh my God, it's getting, black people are going to protest again and do this again. But it's like, do you really think I care about some paint on some pavement?
Right.
Or some, you know what I mean? Or do you really think I care that Starbucks wears a black apron now or Chick-fil-A did this or Uber said this? Like, I don't care. What needs to happen is the law needs to change. Like actual legislation. And then even beyond law, people's hearts and minds have to actually change because people don't follow the law now. Why would they follow the law then? You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
exactly.
I don't know. It's really a crazy world. I don't know exactly how we're going to bring about this change. I think it really does start here at the grassroots with organizations like us, the 771 Alliance, and really organizing youth and organizing also older people who've been doing this longer than us and sitting down in circles and really having a conversation because at the end of the day, everybody has their own perspective and we can truly learn from each other and bring about this change. I'm not sure. I mean, what would you say, in Harmony's mind, what would be the next step, in your opinion?
To me, in my opinion, maybe our next step, and maybe this is something that we've already been doing, but I guess just putting more pressure on the court systems and putting more pressure on the attorneys and the DAs, and writing more letters like we've been doing, calling the number like they was doing at the beginning. I really feel like that's something that we do need to continue, because they see us posting this, but they feel like they're not getting any real pressure, so they don't need to do anything, if that makes sense. So I just feel like we need to just put more pressure on that aspect, calling judges, like I said, DAs, all of that, to make sure that they're making this court date happen. Right. So those officers can get arrested and convicted and actually be put in jail for what they did.
Exactly. And actually do time, like they're not able to do whatever they want. That's what
right.
I don't understand that. Why is it that you get a badge and all of a sudden it's like the law doesn't apply to you? It's
right.
You're like, what? Like you're not the law? What are you talking about?
They think they're invincible. I hate that.
It doesn't make any sense. What would you say, Antasia? Like, what would you say would be the next step we should take? Should we organize? Should we keep protesting? What should we do? We need your wisdom.
Honestly, sad to say, I really don't know, because
I feel that.
We have protested. We have, took the social media route. And I can say some things have changed, like voices have been, have reached people. And, like I said, some things have changed, but what do we really do?
Right.
It's not something that's just like, already written out that we could just say, all right, we're going to do this and it's going to work. We've seen it done before. It's going to work, Like we thought protesting, was going to make a difference, and it certainly has. It's just like, hasn't made the difference that we wanted exactly to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm not too sure on what we could really do from here, like on out. But I think like keep doing what we are doing, like protesting, going to social media, emailing and calling the attorney generals, and applying pressure in that aspect.
It's like a multiple lifetime struggle, because
it's like,
I feel like if we had more, and I already know there probably are millions of black lawyers, but I feel like if we had more black African American lawyers who could come together, organize themselves, actually write a good document of legislation and submit it, perhaps something actually would change. But then you always have people say, oh, once you go into politics, you can't really do as much as you say you want to do.
And that's exactly it. It's like, I feel like in terms of like an attorney or like any career that you go into, it's like, unless you have something that's in your name, like if you're a lawyer, unless you have something that's your firm, you don't want to say too much. Right. And then you lost your job at that firm and no other firm is going to want to hire you because you're working on this project, Right. I'm not sure if like how many all black lawyer offices there are, if you work there, then yeah, it could work out if you're working towards this project. But if you're working for random firms that are going to talk, it's like, do you want to risk your job trying to support your people? Because if you risk your job, then what? You're out of a job trying to support your people, but then you're struggling at it even more,
It's like we need safe spaces in America. Like, where are the safe places for black people and even just brown people just to speak out openly, like, yo, I'm getting killed, can we work on this law? But that's crazy that we can't even do that.
Yeah, like, for example, like, he's not even a lawyer. Nick Cannon, he spoke out about his opinion against white people, and then boom, Wild 'N Out is canceled.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, it's like there's no real safe space unless you're like self-employed.
Exactly. I thought I was on the camera. Exactly. I don't understand that at all. And I feel like, it's kind of like what Angela Davis said. It's more so like the youth have to do this. And like, I feel like we're actually on like the lower end of that spectrum now. We're like kind of leaving that youthful stage and we're going into this adulthood. And it's like, I want to sit down and talk to high schoolers and middle schoolers and really think, like, what are you guys thinking about all of this? Because you grew up in an entirely different world than I. Post 9/11, post Sandy Hook, post, you know what I mean? Like, how are these kids thinking? I don't know. Because they're the ones that are going to have to live in this world completely changed compared to what we have to go through. But to get off this little rant, let's move into a different, kind of closely aligned subject, which is Kamala Harris. And I want to talk about the elections. We haven't done that since last semester, and just really get into Joe Biden, Trump, how we went from a Democratic stage of a diverse stage, Asian people, black people, men, women, down to old white guy. And now he's picked a black woman as his vice president. So what's your first thought when it comes to that?
Honestly, I just looked at it and I'm just like, okay.
Right.
I knew it was going to happen. Like, I wasn't surprised. Like, he was pushing the campaign, like, make sure you subscribe to my email and you'll see first who I pick. And I'm like, I already knew you were going to pull something like that, because it's Joe Biden for one. He's already trying to pull the black vote in. That's been his whole strategy.
Right.
Yeah, it's just his thing. So I already knew he was going to try to push something like that. So, when he said, all right, you got some of the black vote, we got to keep pushing. Let me get Kamala. Which, personally, I'm not sure. I feel like picking Kamala was the ignorant choice for Black America. Because a lot of black people who don't know anything about politics are just going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, he picked a black woman to be vice president. She has this spot. But then the woke black community knows who Kamala is. They know she's a prosecutor. She's been a prosecutor since the 1990s. First starting out in sex crimes, and she's the one, putting people in jail, fighting for the law. So she's not accepted by a lot of the black community. But then in Joe Biden's case, he got, the ignorant vote, the ones that just see her as a black woman. So for me, I was like, I wouldn't say it was a smart choice. I mean, maybe a smart choice in terms of him getting black votes.
Right.
A good percentage of it.
Good strategy.
Yeah, good strategy. But at the end of the day, do I want Kamala and Joe over Trump and Pence? Yes. It's not matter.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said that, I'm happy that history was made, but I really haven't done my research on her politically to know what she's done. And like Antasia was saying, I was seeing on social media how a lot of black people were saying that a lot of things that she has done hasn't been for us. But, that at the same time, I do feel like Trump, to black people, he's all of our common denominator, and we have to get him out by any means necessary. Right. So it's like, I'm glad history was made, and, maybe she hasn't done everything correctly, but I would rather have them together than to have Trump for another 4 years. I feel like we do need to come together and vote him out. And I feel like things that she has done, I'm not trying to push it off, but I feel like we can cross that bridge once we get there. And right now, we just need to put our focus on getting black people to vote Trump out, if that makes sense.
I definitely agree, because
100%.
You have a lot of people who, and I say they're past that woke stage. They're the super woke black people, and they're like, I'm not going to vote at all, because if I give you my vote, I'm voting for the beast, and da-da-da. It's like, come on, bro.
I've seen a lot of tweets about that lately. Like, I'm just not going to vote at all, because I'd rather have a socialist government.
We have to learn.
Why would I even want to? Somebody tweeted, they said, Joe and Kamala, everybody's going to jail. Because it's just and they're like, I'd rather just not vote at all. And I seen that tweet, I'm like, I'm not going to waste my right to not vote.
Right. I think we have to learn too. I mean, that's literally the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You didn't vote in 2016 and you ended up with Donald Trump. So why would you repeat and not vote again and then end up with Donald Trump for another 4? I don't think that's an option. That's not an option. It's not going to happen. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like, and with Kamala, her past is horrific. I mean, what she did in California, what was it, 95% or something like that? I forget what the percentage was. But for Joe, I think what Antasia said, it's the best strategy for him. Because if we're being honest, if you were to pick someone who was more suiting for the community, like Stacey Abrams, I feel like those Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, would be like, oh no, I'm not voting for Joe at all now because he has this super strong black woman who's super left and super this. So I feel like strategically, Kamala Harris is perfect because she's kind of in that middle space. What would they call that? Like a moderate, like a John Bel Edwards moderate type figure.
That's exactly what it is, because she's like,
she's not really
she has a lot of the Republican vote because she is a prosecutor. She is for the law, and they're like, you know what, she is black, but she won't get a lot of them off the streets. So you know what, let's vote for Joe now. You know,
I can feel that. Yeah, because she's, I don't know if she can be a Democrat, but all I can say, you know what I mean. But it's kind of cool that at least we will have Democrats back in office, and at least progressive legislation will be in talks more. Even though I believe the Senate is still Republican, so we're still gonna have that roadblock. But at least you'll have Congress Democrat, you'll have the White House Democrat, and
a president that believes climate change exists.
Yes, at least. Even though he still says like the most idiotic things about black people, like when he said that we weren't diverse. You heard that?
I just.
Oh my God. He said unlike the Latino communities, black people unlike black communities. Latinos are diverse. I think he said something like that. I was like, what are you talking about? Stop talking. Just wait till after the election. Stop talking. You have the vote.
I don't know. It's something about Joe. It's like, he's like Kamala. Literally.
Right.
Like, they're pulling his old speeches and everything. Like, you want to get them off the streets? Let's open plenty more jails. Let's open a lot of jails. And that's how you fix the street problem. And I'm like, now that I'm looking into your past and what you really speak on, it's like,
who are you?
Yeah,
you know I mean? Like honestly, the only reason most of us like him is because of Obama, because he was vice president.
That's literally all it is.
Most of us wouldn't know who he is if he didn't.
It's the ignorance behind it. It's just, Obama liked him. Obama was black. Obama was president.
Right.
He liked them again. So I'm going to like him and I'm going to vote for him. Like, no, you don't know nothing about his past. He was for prisons. He likes prisons. Kamala is definitely for prisons. She's a prosecutor. She fights for the law. So it's like, you're literally voting for them because of the black, the black ignorance in it. Because Obama liked them and Kamala's black. So it's like, okay, that's the black vote for you.
It's so ridiculous. And I mean, who would you guys have liked to see as vice president besides
Warren?
Elizabeth Warren?
I loved Warren so much.
I was thinking that too.
Only because, like, she was so for the environment. Like, that was really her big push on a lot of things. Like, she just really wanted to fight big oil, the big green plan, the Blue New Deal. And I don't know. I really liked her. Because I believe she was an attorney too.
Yeah,
I think.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I feel that. You said Warren too, Harmony?
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I don't really want to just put my name on just specifically anyone. Like, I like to, I guess I haven't done really much of a good job with doing my research on people. But
I feel you, Harmony, me either.
Yeah. So I really can't say, but I did like how she was for the environment. So that's really all I can say right now until I do more research. That's what I need to do. But yeah.
I can definitely agree. I agree when you said I can't put my name on a specific politician because I don't like any of them. They all tell lies.
Me either. Like, I didn't even do, like, I felt bad as a poli-sci major that I didn't watch, the whole thing closely enough, looking at everyone's background.
It was so hard to this year, though.
It was
too much going on, man.
It was just like, it was too much going on to where I could actually sit down and just look at everybody. Because I'm like, nobody stood out to me that much to where I was just going to, you're the one. Warren just stood out to me because that was her whole push, was the environment. And I'm like, exactly. That's what I want to go into in life. So I'm like, okay.
Like, even before, like, the pandemic and all that happened, it was just too much going on. Because I feel like the tension in America before was all, like, racially based. And everything was, like, it was about to blow up
racially
anyway.
Based.
And then, like, the pandemic.
Issue.
Right. Then the pandemic hit, and that kind of, like, muted everything for a little bit. But it's like, these problems are still here. There's still, like, racial tension. And now you also have a pandemic on top of that. And then, like Antasia just said, Iran and Trump killing people. Like, what are you doing killing world leaders for no, like, oh my gosh. It was ridiculous.
I was scared when that happened. Like,
Me too. I
no
was
doubt.
like, whoa.
I didn't know what they were gonna do. Seriously.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it would have been like another World War or something to that effect. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was
and also
crazy.
segueing into the pandemic, how do you guys feel? I know you guys both chose to stay at home, and then I chose to come back. So, what's your opinions on schooling, online school, and how it's all operating?
All right.
Me personally,
First.
me
Yeah.
personally, I
Like
I
me?
hate online. I hate online, but I'm high risk from the pandemic because I have asthma.
Right.
So it's kind of like I have to choose my health first. So it's kind of like I hate this, but at the same time I have to do what I have to do to maintain my GPA, maintain my safety.
Right.
And as far as, the people at school, I just really hope that they remain safe. I hope that everybody just stays in their room. But the videos I've been seeing is kind of like,
I know, right? So I'm kind of
I
glad.
need to go back in the house.
Yeah. These people are
So,
crazy.
All right. As for me, so if whoever listens, I'm in Maryland, so we still have cases here, of course, but Louisiana is like top 3 in rising cases. I just didn't think it would be smart for me to leave a state with way fewer cases than Louisiana to go all the way to Louisiana to go to a state who has like rising cases,
Very true.
Yeah, we were having like 2,000 new cases a day.
Yeah,
Like, I was
we're not
looking
even
for-
close to that. And I was like,
That's
I had to worry about
ridiculous.
my health and like me, coming back. And then I drive to school. So it's like, I didn't want to have to travel through, various states because I don't fly. And I'm like, I don't want to risk me or my boyfriend getting it on our, way to school. Then if my mom was to come help me, the way it is here, if you come to Louisiana, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. You're not allowed to go back to work or anything if you go to Louisiana.
Mhm.
So I'm not about to do that to my mom either,
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
coming from
And
California,
it's so scary.
like it was messed up in
Right.
California. It's messed up in Louisiana. I'm just here,
It's
man.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
in your
honestly,
case, it made sense.
these people, like you said, Harmony, are not social distancing. They
Mhm.
walk around campus with no mask on,
Yes.
and then say they want to go into Higgins, then they'll put on a mask. But it's like you were just outside, standing around. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's
So-
asymptomatic. So you cannot put it on one part of time. You can be catching it,
It's crazy.
you can think that you're good, you got it, and you're spreading it without you even knowing that you have it.
Exactly.
So that's why it's so scary, the asymptomatic side of it. And
And then-
I heard that they were even giving masks out. So it's like,
I
why
haven't
are y'all
seen
not
that yet,
wearing
but I'm sure. And also, but the only good thing the improvements I can say I've noticed is that they do have hand sanitizer stations. So
Mhm.
I live in the hundreds. So when you first get to the hundreds, there's like a hand sanitizer station like right by the stairs. Or if you go into cafeterias, into any building, you'll have hand sanitizers. And also, tables in cafeterias are spread out. There's only like 9 chairs to a classroom. So the actual
Okay.
buildings are like up to code, you can say. But the
Mhm.
students is the issue. And it's probably,
Yeah.
and
And I've
not
been
to name
seeing it
names, but it's probably the younger people who are causing
Yes.
issues
And
on
I've seen
this
the
beautiful
good hashtag,
campus.
the new incoming hashtag. They've been doing it.
Got no sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and hey, I also know some older folks who are acting up to being a little stupid, but surrounded
No,
with
it's a lot.
this.
It's a good amount of upperclassmen as well because before school started last week, they were planning the party at the palace.
Right.
And one girl, I did see her tweet. She said, "What's the difference if we're going to be all bunched up in a classroom? What's the difference between me going to a party and to class?"
A major difference.
And I'm like, well, if you go to a party, y'all aren't going to wear masks. In class, it's
Right.
mandatory. In any
Right.
building on campus, it's mandatory.
I had a professor email me already because we met one time. She said never again, pretty much. She said next week we'll meet remotely because somebody was exposed and we're not doing this. I gotta protect myself. So
Mhm.
eventually I feel like everybody's gonna end up online because eventually,
Me too.
you know what I mean? It's like how
Yeah.
long will this
Especially the
last?
Southern professors, they're not playing.
They're not.
Yeah.
Especially the professors in
They
Higgins.
not.
They're not playing.
Oh no, you know how Higgs
Right.
is.
I-
There ain't no
I
way.
think
All
he's
those
bad.
people are headstrong. No way.
No, they're
Like,
not playing. They're like, we know what's really going on. We do the research. We're leaving.
Exactly.
Right.
It's literally a building full of researchers. That's all they do. Whether it's
Yeah.
history or science, political science, nah, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
They're like, we'll do this for the first week. Like, I do have one professor for comparative government who said yesterday she will have class, but she spread us all up into like 4 different groups. But she said she had class yesterday to take attendance. She said, I'm going to come in class, I'm going to get y'all's emails, and then we're going to meet outside for social distancing purposes. And then she was like, that's it.
You know, one of my professors said, we can meet by a tree, we can meet by the bluff, but this classroom, she was dead serious. She's like, I'm going to wear a snapback and these sunglasses, and y'all going to find me. It's like, all right. And it makes sense, though. I mean, so also, how do you guys feel about, like, elementary schools and these, like, hundreds of kids, like, even more dense than Southern, going into classrooms and going into, like, courtyards and lunchrooms? How do you guys feel about little children?
For one, kids are disgusting. They're going to pick their nose. They're going to cough. They're going to, you know, those, like, they're going to sneeze, but don't even put their, you know, they sneeze, like, out here, like.
Right.
No, they're not going to keep their masks on. I seen a kid yesterday. She took her mask off and just had it in her hand, rubbing all over the door and stuff. And I'm like, oh,
man.
No, it's not going to make sense for you to have, you know, like 30 little kids in a classroom who already touch all over each other, touch their face, sneeze, cough, touch all over the desk. Like, who's going to clean that up?
Right.
Yeah.
Poor janitors. They better look after this pandemic. Janitors better get a raised wage and a livable wage, not no minimum wage. Like nurses, janitors, teachers. These are the people who deserve to be millionaires. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I just feel like if it was a high school in Georgia that had an outbreak, imagine little kids that are active and always.
I was just about to say that.
Yes, like I just think it was a bad idea. Like for a fact, my aunt have 2 little cousins, and they're in elementary school. She's gonna homeschool them. She's gonna do everything at home.
Yeah,
you know,
my little brother too. No, cause my brother's one of them kids and teachers. That dude don't know what he's doing. Like, we were in Kohl's, right? We're all walking in, and like my brother, I look at him. He has no mask on. He's like, "Why am I?" And he asked me, "Why am I the only one with no mask on?" I'm like. I was like, let's go. And he says it loud. Like, I'm like, so the whole store is like, what? I'm like, get out the store, boy. I'm like, get your butt out the store. You know what I mean? Then you put the mask on and he only wears it, like, he'll wear it down here. I'm like, put it over your nose, Dominic. And then, like, 20 minutes go by, it's back down here. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, I'm leaving you at home. You're not allowed outside.
You're just gonna stay at home, right?
I'm saying. It's like, what are you doing? Like, why'd you take your mask off in the first place? Like, what?
Yeah, how can you regulate little kids wearing a mask without having to come up to them and touch them and do it for them?
Right.
You know, you're gonna just risk your own health trying to be in a class that day.
They're always like doing something.
Yeah, that's why like here in Maryland, they're just doing it to where like it's all gonna be virtual. But if you want to, if like the teachers are gonna be in person, you know, if you are that type of person that needs help in person, for, you know, like math classes and stuff like that, or if you're special needs, or if you're like a student, like a teacher's student, not a teacher's student, a teacher's kid.
A student?
Like if your mom is a parent, like a teacher or something, you can go with them.
I was like, what?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to say that, but you know, but everything else is just gonna be online because they're not playing.
That makes sense. It seems like Maryland's always like number one in the progressive movements. Always like.
Yeah.
Then there's Louisiana. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't read anything about Louisiana schools though. Like, so as far as like elementary schools and high schools, I haven't heard about that. But
yeah, and here in Louisiana, there hasn't been any news about any outbreaks. But everybody is kind of like going full-fledged on going back to school. So I'm not trying to speak negative.
Wow.
I want to say I think they are. I don't know how, but I just know from when I was telling y'all, my aunt, her kids are gonna stay at home. So I'm guessing that means that kids are going back if she's choosing for her kids not to go. But yeah, like I said, I haven't heard anything about outbreaks yet, but I do feel like if they're going to make them go full-fledged on, it's going to happen.
It is. I give it like 2 weeks, and someone's going to send out an email saying all students must return back. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or I feel like, but honestly, I feel like they can't do that. Because last semester,
they don't have,
last semester they stole their money.
Act.
Right, like they stole their money last semester with that. So this semester, if they do, it's probably going to be some like lockdown, some like strict, no visitation. No, like, all cars got to be back by, like, 4 p.m., something like that, I bet. So I feel
Yes.
like
Or
they
they're just
can't.
gonna make it to, I don't even know.
Or at least
'Cause how
me, I
can
ain't
you do
leaving.
that without sending everybody home?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Because
feel
you
like they
already can't
can't.
handle the students even when everything is, regular.
They'll go
Mhm.
broke. They'll like literally have to shut down. Like a lot of schools would have to shut down.
Yes, because they already raised the fees. Like,
Exactly.
they raised them drastically. Like, I have a friend, she never had to like pay out of pocket because financial aid like paid for everything, And so now this semester she has to pay almost $2,000 because they raised the fees up that high. So they,
It was like
they trying to make
$2,000
up.
more. That's true.
Right. So they're trying to raise them up. I don't know what I would have done. I think that's why I'm glad I stayed at home, because having to pay, $2,000 out of pocket when normally I don't have to pay anything at all,
Right.
that's kind of crazy.
It's Southern. I mean, it's kind of like what somebody said yesterday. They told me, or I overheard them saying, like, Southern has money, but you can't spend it from the deathbed. You know what I mean? Like, if you were to spend this
Right.
money, it's like they would literally have nothing else. So, on one hand, it's like, all right, I don't blame the institution for charging more money, because I know, like, they missed out on a whole lot. With like Springfest, is probably brings in so much money that we don't even fathom.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so they missed out on all these major events, and then we come back, they charge us this amount. Students aren't coming back. Some of us aren't going to pay our fees because y'all didn't answer our phone calls, and it's like, what's going on? But that's the bluff.
Right.
I was like in my car the other day, and I was like, you know what? That freshman, what was that class called? Freshman orientation we all had to take freshman year.
Freshman
That
seminar.
little freshman seminar, that little scavenger hunt wasn't so to learn
Yes.
campus. That was for us to learn how messed up Southern is and how to like rip and run fast and get it done. 'Cause,
Right.
like if you're not on it at Southern, you will fall behind. Like it doesn't matter
Yes.
what it is. So, but I don't know. You guys have any closing remarks?
I'm just gonna say, stay safe, Charles, in Louisiana.
Yeah, I'll do my
Yeah.
best. I'll do my best. If not, I'll buy some sage and sit in a room and figure that out.
And just email all the professors saying, I'm just gonna be virtual. I'll be in my room,
Right.
but
Right.
virtual.
Exactly. These are my office hours. You want to talk to me? But right. All right. You guys stay safe as well. And
All right.
that was the podcast.
Yes.
First podcast of the semester. Yay. And
Yay.
well, thank you everybody
Bye,
for
guys.
watching. We'll be back next Friday. And yeah. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Peace.